The following program is brought to you by Wightman TV and Bruce Telecom.
All right, everybody, welcome to the West Grey All Candidates meeting. My name is Ted Easton. I'll be your moderator for today. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, councillors, deputy mayor candidates, and mayor candidates, and as well as the public. I will be reading a few rules out here, and then we will introduce the candidates. Each candidate for councillor will be allowed 2 minutes to make an opening and closing statement. The order of these statements was predetermined by advance draw. Deputy mayor and mayor will be allotted 3 minutes. Candidates are asked not to interrupt opening and closing statements of other candidates. During the question and answer periods received from the floor in either written or oral form, candidates will have an opportunity to answer all questions. My job is to rule out any questions deemed inappropriate, offensive, derogatory, or that would seem to attack the integrity of a candidate or brings the chamber repute into dispute. My job is also to rule out any person who attempts to use the meeting as a platform for expressing any point of view. Questions from the floor be limited to one person, please, and the answers to the questions for the candidates will be limited to 1 minute as well. So let's introduce the candidates. We will start first with the councillors. First, Scott Forrester. If you want to raise your hand or stand up. There we go, Scott. Callie Greenshields. Beth Hamilton. Rebecca Hergert, Doug Hutchinson, Jenny Parsons, Jeffrey Shea, Doug Townsend, Stephen Townsend, Bob Weirmeyer. Close. How do I say it? Weirmeyer. Get it right, Ted. Jeff White, and David Wild. For Deputy Mayor, John Bell and Tom Hutchinson. And for Mayor Christine Robinson, Kevin Eccles and Enos Martins. All right, as I mentioned before, we had an advance draw to determine the order for the candidates to speak. We will be starting with the councillors, and the first councillor to speak will be Doug Hutchinson. Doug, the microphone should be right there so you don't have to go too far away from your seat there. Oh, sorry, Doug, just before you go, once again, there'll be a 2-minute limit. I will be given a cue for 30 seconds, which I will let you know when 30 seconds is, and then I will stop you at the 2-minute mark, okay? Doug Hutchinson, everybody.
Good evening. My name is Doug Hutchinson, as has been announced, and I have been in council for 1 term now. Despite what you may hear from some of the candidates here today, I feel that the current council has done a very good job in moving West Grey forward. We continue to follow our 2020 strategic plan, which was created this term along with much public input. As a result, we have hired some new staff in economic development and in parks and recreation to help promote West Grey. Our Director of Infrastructure is compiling a road and bridge study at present, which will help making tough decisions in this area. Our library system needed some tweaking, and I believe we have accomplished that, with a new library in Durham and a solution to the service in Elmwood. West Grey is in the verge of some long-awaited growth with a new 240 home development in Durham and hopefully movement on some development in Newstead. There is lots of building happening in our rural areas, whether homes or farm buildings. We are also starting to see growth in our industrial and commercial business areas. Fiber is coming, which will be a big boost to our rural high-speed internet. Unfortunately, not coming as fast as we would like it. And our new provincial government just announced support for funding for additional natural gas in rural Ontario. Some exciting things there. There are areas that council can always improve on, such as communication. At present, we have a website, which I feel needs a revamp. We use posters.
30 seconds.
Electronic signage, email blasts, and 2 council meetings a month are televised. Still, we can improve by using Facebook and local papers more. I look forward, if on council, to helping solve the police building issue this term, as the ministry has been more than patient. We have been looking for a location and need to start a build. We have an excellent police force and need to support them. I hope this term is one where we see a new long-term care home in Durham as well. We all know there's a need there. Also, our landfill issues need to be resolved. Thank you. I will speak on some other items later. Thank you.
Doug Hutchinson, everybody. Our next candidate to speak will be Jenny Parsons. There's a microphone right over here, Jenny, as well.
Thank you, Ted. My opening statement will be a top 10 list of bold ideas for West Grey. Number 10, let's get creative now. The future will not be like the past. Let's try something new. Number 9, let's merge Hanover with West Grey. This is not my idea, but it's a bold idea. One police force, one library service, perhaps one council. Number 8, increase tourism. Let's start boasting. We rock. Number 7, let's save for the future now. In particular, for a low volume, small scale gasifier, we're going to make our garbage into profit. 6, let's support downtowns. Let's lower the corporate taxes. 5, let's say yes to innovation. Let's support our startups. 4, let's say no to wind turbines. Actually, this should probably say, let's say no to giving a 20-year contract to a municipality forced by the province, dividing neighbors, handing the cost to the payers and hiding it in a delivery. Let's just say, it doesn't fit on the card, so let's just say no to that. 3, let's say more beds, not less. 2, respect the taxpayer, spend money on our
30 seconds.
On our needs, not our wants. And the number 1 bold idea for West Grey is vote Parsons. Thank you.
Jenny Parsons. Our next candidate to speak will be Doug Townsend.
Good evening, residents of West Grey. My name is Doug Townsend, and I'm running for the position of councillor. I've lived in West Grey for the past 34 years with my wife Anne, first in Ayton and now in the Varney area. We have raised our 2 children here, and now our grandchildren continue to live here in West Grey. There are many tough issues facing council in the coming years: infrastructure, bridges, landfill sites, senior housing and long-term care, attracting small and medium businesses and their jobs to West Grey, along with many, many more. In order to do this, we, you and I, need to elect the right individuals with the right skill sets that can come together as one team at the council table and make the right decisions for West Grey. Going forward, I believe I am one of those people that fit the bill. At the end of January, I retired from 36.5-year career with Canada Post, in which I served as postmaster in both Ayton and Durham before being promoted to management positions in Grey and Bruce counties, then working out of regional office in London, then for a period of time at head office in Ottawa, all the time continuing to live and raise my family here in West Grey. I have managed large budgets and groups of employees in a highly unionized environment, learned the art of negotiation along with a lot of life lessons and life skills learned along the way. Skills I would like to bring to the table of your upcoming council. Running for council is something I have always thought of doing, but due to my job taking me out of the area, I felt that I would never be able to represent the people of West Grey in the manner needed.
30 seconds.
Now that I have retired, I not only have the time to dedicate to the position, but I bring those management and leadership skills along with innovative and out-of-the-box thinking ideas, something that I was rewarded for by Canada Post during my career, and now I would like the opportunity to use these skills and represent you on council. Thank you.
Doug Townsend. Our next speaker will be Beth Hamilton.
My name is Beth Hamilton. I live in the former township of Glenelg with my husband, Mark. I am a music therapist with experience in long-term care and palliative care, and I'm an educator. I made the decision to run for council over a year ago, and since then, I've been preparing by attending meetings, reading reports, and talking with staff. I have knocked in every in-town door in Ayton and Newstead, and I'm making my way across West Grey. From this experience, I believe we need to develop a long-range plan, a strategic plan for West Grey, a plan based on research and community engagement. We need to anticipate the challenges and build for future generations. With bridges closing and bridges on borrowed time, with a sudden closure of the Normanby landfill and another near capacity, we need to plan further ahead, and we need to communicate more often and more clearly so we can work together in building our sustainable and vibrant future. A common concern here in Ayton and surrounding areas is for fair and equal representation at council, which leads me to ask, would a new ward system represent you better? As a community, let's discuss the possibility of election
30
reform.
seconds.
With long-term planning, good communication, and inclusive representation, we can take action today to invest in our future. I will keep going door to door. I will return every phone call, email, and Facebook message. I'm Beth Hamilton. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Beth Hamilton. Our next speaker will be Rebecca Hergert.
Speak up. Hello, my name is Rebecca Hergert. I want to be able to speak up and represent each one of you. For the last year and a half, I've had that opportunity to represent West Grey. This has been quite an adventure, a large learning curve, but we are ready to take on everything the province is going to throw at us. We're going to be ready to make good decisions based on research and information we've gathered. I believe that I can represent you at the local level, through emails, contact, out and about. I believe that I can represent you up to the county through resolutions that can be forwarded at our own council table. I believe that we can represent you at the provincial level as well. We've just returned from the AMO conference. It's a yearly conference, and we were able to sit down with the Conservative government and speak up for what West Grey needs. I'm prepared to speak up on your behalf. I invite input from all candidates here, from the public here. SurveyMonkey has been an opportunity that West Grey Council has allowed and is starting to get on board. Monthly, we had one in August about economic development. There's another one for September. We're moving forward. We're getting better at communication. Last Monday, we decided we were going to improve the municipal website. That should provide for some two-way communication. If you have a problem, let one of us councillors know so that we can bring it through the right channels to represent you very well. As I look forward to your vote, Vote Hergert 2018, I also look forward to good community committee representation. The only way that we're going to get everyone to be represented in West Grey is through committees as well. These committees have makeup from each and every vast corner of West Grey, and they make recommendations to council.
Time.
We need to hear everyone's voice. Hergert 2018.
Thank you, Rebecca Hergert. Our next speaker will be Bob Wiermeyer. I get it right that time? Right on. All right.
It's good to see so many people out. I'm Bob Wiermeyer. The amount of people here really shows that people are caring about what goes on. And that's what's needed. That's one reason I am running. My work with the Saugeen Regional Landowners for the Ontario Landowner Association has given me a great opportunity to talk to a lot of people, basically about property rights. I have went to different councils for different people for this. Some people think they're unfairly treated, so I've had to do a lot of reading of the regulations on that.
I feel that maybe this is a really good place now to do it, to bring all that information I have read out to the public and to every one of you. I have done a lot of talking to a lot of people, and this room is really good this evening night, and I would really hope that if I do get elected, that the same people will call us with any problems. I don't think I'm going to take up the whole time. It looks like a long night here. Anyway, thank you.
Bob Weirmeyer. Our next speaker, Scott Forster.
All right, hi, I'm Scott Forster. Why I decided to run for West Grey Council? Since volunteering on the Nooster Recreation Board and the Nooster Normanby Carrick Agriculture Society, living and working in West Grey, and talking to local residents, I've seen there's a need for fresh new ideas on council. A need for someone with a passion for the community of West Grey and the people who live here. There's a need for more opportunities to keep young people in West Grey, getting families to raise their children here, more housing in towns, villages, and hamlets of West Grey, getting retiring people to return to the place where they grew up, more senior housing, and keeping our retirement homes open so we can keep our seniors in West Grey. Improving West Grey by attracting new businesses and industry, including farming and on-farm businesses. Budgeting to replace neglected infrastructure, roads, bridges, water and sewers, landfills. Improving the integrity of council by working with everyone, by bringing a new approach to problem solving with openness and fresh ideas and common sense. Promoting West Grey as a community and being accessible to all residents. That's all I have.
Scott Forster. Our next candidate to speak is Jeff White.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to start by thanking everyone for attending. My name is Jeff White, and I'm running for seat on West Grey Council. Even though I'm a new face to most of you, I've lived in the Grey Bruce area for the majority of my life. I now live northeast of Elmwood with my wife Tammy and our son. We have 2 older daughters who have now moved out on their own. Living in West Grey has been wonderful, and I believe in giving back to your community. With my previous council experience from 2010 to 2014, I know what this position takes, from budgeting, planning, committee meetings, to being accessible and listening to the public. I believe that I have the experience that counts, experience that I will put to work for you to move West Grey forward with a common sense approach. In order to move forward, communication is a key factor. Working together with open and transparent dialogue on key issues such as taxes, infrastructure, long-term health care, youth retention, and economic development. We're all here today with one main and most important goal, and that is making the best West Grey possible. A person with past council experience, a person who is honest and dedicated, a person who listens and will voice the concerns of all West Grey residents. That person is Jeff White. Thank you.
Jeff White. Our next speaker, Stephen Townsend.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Townsend, and I'm not related to Doug. I'm sure you're all thinking and wondering, but we're not related. First of all, I'll start off by saying I'm glad that so many people did come out. It does show an interest, and there's a lot of issues in the area, as I'm sure you're all aware. If you've read my flyer, which I mailed to every single household, farm, et cetera, because I believe everyone should see it, everyone should understand where you are actually thinking and what you're looking forward to. If you look at it, it talks about economic development, residential development, senior accommodation, not just long-term care. There's got to be alternatives to staying put. People can't stay on the farm anymore, can't stay in their house anymore. They need to have housing somewhere. We can't accommodate it. It's not around. It needs to. You'll also see I talk about strategic plan. As Doug Hutchinson mentioned, there is a strategic plan in place. It has gaps. It needs to be reviewed. Because of my experience in work, I started as a clerk, retired as a vice president, and so I've seen operational right up to oversight. My volunteering, doing the medical clinic expansion in Durham, a $2 million project roughly, on time, on budget. We got a $925,000 grant that if we didn't do that, we'd lose it. We didn't. I was on the board of the foundation and revamped that. I did the same sort of stretch on the hospital board, which has Kincardine, Walkerton, Chesley, and Durham hospitals. It's one board, one management team, 4 sites. Sound familiar?
30 seconds.
What we have here, I did the same at work. I had 3 cities, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax. I had people in all those circumstances, the people are satisfied that it's equitable, and that's what counts. Open, transparent, as Jeff said, is critical. People here don't feel that that happens, and also the equitability of the way each area is treated needs to be revised as well. Thank you very much.
Stephen Townsend. Our next speaker, Callie Greenshields.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. My name is Callie Greenshields, and I'm running for council, not for any personal gain or ambition, but to be involved and serve the community of West Grey. Since entering the race, I have been out personally, along with my family, traveling all the roads of the municipality. I had no clue when I started that just how big West Grey really is. I'm almost done. Since entering the race, meeting its people and learning all that West Grey has to offer. I've been listening, I've been learning, huge learning curve, but still determined to see it thrive. West Grey is a rich and diverse community made up of young and old and everyone in between. To see it thrive, I will work for a senior youth activity and technology center in West Grey. West Grey is nestled in nature, and I will work to build and promote sustainable year-round tourism in our communities. I will build and promote businesses in West Grey, balance budgets, ensure infrastructures are maintained and up to code, and funds are in place when repair work is needed to be done. That one will be challenging. Long-term solutions to our waste disposal and waste management. I am committed to long-term care in West Grey.
30 seconds.
I believe in building strong and thriving communities in all of West Grey. This can only be done if we all exercise civic pride and work together. With time, effort, and teamwork together, we can build a place where people will want to come and visit, and if we do it right, they'll want to stay. I'm committed to serving the communities of West Grey and helping them thrive. My name is Callie Greenshields. Please vote for me.
Callie Greenshields. Our next speaker, David Wild.
Hi, my sincere thanks to the Optimist Club for organizing this event and to all of you for attending. Excuse me. To my fellow candidates and councillors, I wish you all the best. I look forward to working with 4 of you, as well as our mayor and deputy mayor. My first motion will be to bring back the ballot as an option to the way that we vote this term. People are confused and intimidated by telephone and internet voting and are telling me they will not be voting, which is awful. I would like to see the formation of a long-range planning committee to address our roads, culverts, and bridges chaos. We could then advise our constituents when things will start to see some real action. Hopefully no increase in taxes will mean, however, that we'll have to tighten our belts concurrently. We should encourage developers of residential areas and to include row housing units and seniors along with family dwellings. Downtown businesses could get assistance from West Grey to improve the appearance of buildings and ridding towns of eyesores. Building owners who refuse to rent storefronts should be encouraged to rent or sell. No one wants to move into a ghost town. My printed matter is available at the back and includes my home phone and email address. My year-round office is Eckert, Shell, and Variety.
30 seconds.
Where we can meet and talk face-to-face by appointment. My name is David Wild, so vote Wild. Thank you.
David Wild. Our next candidate to speak, Jeffrey Shea.
Good evening, all. So I have some past experience doing things in the community that I'd like to relay. I served on the West Grey Chamber of Commerce. I worked with the Grey County Accessibility Committee. I work with the Tangled Disability Art Gallery in Toronto. I was elected to West Grey Council in 2003, and while I was on council, I served on the West Grey Fire Board as well. I believe that when we're making decisions locally, we need to be making them with the long-term health of our community in mind. That's for the decisions that we're making, and also for the decisions that are being made around us. When a school board decides they want to close a school, or when the county decides they want to close a long-term care facility, I think it's our job as the local council to speak up for our communities and say, that's going to impact on us. You've got to be thinking broader and more long-term, and to stand up for those resources in our communities. When we're trying to attract businesses to West Grey, for example, it's a very complicated, interconnected enterprise. If we want to attract businesses, then we're going to need to attract residents that are going to use the retail facilities that are growing in our towns. If we're going to attract residents, the first thing they're going to want to know is, do we have sufficient doctors here that are able to take them on as new patients? Currently, our doctor rate in West Grey is 0.55 doctors per 1,000 residents. The average is 0.99 doctors per 1,000 residents. So we're almost at half the standard levels across the province. This is an interconnected problem. We can work on that as a council, and we're going to need to do that in partnership with the other organizations that are involved in that, with the Health Foundation, with local developers, with the BIA and Chambers of Commerce. But as the West Grey Council, we can provide leadership and the overview to tackle that problem in all its complexity. Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Shea. We'll now move on to Deputy Mayor. Our first speaker will be John Bell.
First of all, special thank you to the Opposites Club of Normanby for organizing and putting on this evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, and thank you, Ted, for refereeing as you are so appropriately dressed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It has been my privilege to act as your Deputy Mayor for the last 8 years, and as Councillor for 4 years preceding that. That experience has put myself in this position to once again humbly ask for your support. I believe the Council of this term has been very vigilant in identifying problems and working towards solutions. Our problems are not unique. With over 100 bridges and structures, our infrastructure will need careful attention. We will continue to look at new and innovative ideas. The legalization of cannabis has unknown costs for the municipality in implementation and administration. This is a big challenge for the incoming council. With an approval rating of over 80% in favor of community policing, it is imperative to look at a new station. In our municipality, our builders are having a banner year. Our small industrial businesses are expanding, and employment is up in the area, and unemployment is below 3%. I will continue to support economic ventures from both individuals and businesses in the area. The promotion of West Grey to live, work, play, and retire is having positive results. For the first time, we cracked the top 100 best municipalities in which to live in Ontario. Out of 442, we are number 94. I still believe we can and will do better. We must continue to invite municipal partners to join us where there are mutual benefits for all. It is imperative to look for new revenue sources to keep the municipality thriving. I will continue to explore all avenues. A community action plan will be sought by council in the new year. Ayton, Newstead, Elmwood, and Durham will have representatives to deal with what is wanted and needed in the urban cores. There will be municipal and county monies attached to this venture, and there will be more info in the new year. I wish to continue to make good decisions and sound judgment calls on your behalf, as I have in the past, at both the local level and county. Once again, I ask for your support to keep West Grey a beautiful place to call home.
John Bell. Just before we let Tom speak, I did supposed to say before John speak that we switched to 3 minutes now. If you're wondering why the deputy and the mayors get more time, it's 3 minutes for the deputy mayor and the mayors. Our next speaker, Tom Hutchinson.
Whoa. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see all you here this evening, and thank you for joining us this 2018 candidates meeting. My name's Tom Hutchinson, and I am running for deputy mayor. I live in the town of Ayton along with my wife Peggy of 32 years. We have 3 children that live in the community, and we also have 3 granddaughters with another grandchild on the way. So the Hutchinson clan of 3 generations is here to stay. Currently, I'm the president of West Grey Minor Hockey, and I'm also the vice president of the West Grey Chamber of Commerce. 4 years ago, we stood on this stage and we discussed change. That did not happen, and look where we are now. This is your chance to take back control of council. Your new council needs to work for you, not the other way around. I am running for deputy mayor because West Grey at this time needs a proven leader with unquestioned progressive values. There are many issues facing the new council. Protecting our long-term care in West Grey and Grey County is top of my list. With an aging population that's growing every year, we cannot afford to lose any of our long-term beds in the county. I'm all for building a new Rockwood Terrace and keeping the Class A facility, Grey Gables, open over in Markdale, and with possibility of further expansion. I'm dedicated to protecting our seniors. We also need to build affordable housing for the seniors. And if you want to look at the other end of the scale, we need some affordable housing for the younger generation trying to crack into the expensive housing market. In the last election, we did discuss economic development and beautification of our downtowns. Not much has happened in the last 4 years. I will set up workshops with the community and our local service clubs to work on a concrete plan for the next 4 to 8 years. Once we have a plan in place, we will see some actual fresh revenues into our tax base that can go towards fixing our failing infrastructures, services, and downtown cores. We will use the proper materials on our roads and bridges so we're not constantly doing the same work over and over again. No more Band-Aids. Let's do it right the first time. We will be accountable to you on the costing for all projects and services. No more careless spending. As deputy mayor, I work countless hours and promise to reach out to the community for your input. I want to take council on the road at least once, if not twice a year, to our rural areas.
30 seconds.
And have open forum discussions. I promise to engage and be active in the community, and to promise to listen to what you have to say. I promise to have an open door, an open mind, so we can make the future better for all of us. This is the partnership that you've been looking for, and here it is. My name's Tom Hutchinson. I am dedicated to the community and committed to progress. Look forward to your votes. Thank you.
And we'll move on to the candidates for mayor. Our first speaker, Kevin Eccles.
Thank you very much, Ted. And good evening, everyone, and welcome. Firstly, I'd like to put my statement forward to congratulate the Optimist Club for putting on this evening. It was a great effort, and you've done very well. We'll tell you how well at 9 o'clock or 9:30 when we're ready to leave. Bit of personal note about myself. Was born and raised in Grey County. I've worked and lived in Grey County, specifically West Grey as we've come to know it, all my working life. I was married to Joanne, a girl that was born in Normanby, for 36 years, and realistically, I'm looking for another 36 years with that lovely lady. We have 2 grown children, married, and 5 great grandchildren. You figure that one out. My political career, I started in 2000. I ran for council, was successful for that term. 2003, I ran for deputy mayor and was successful there as well too. In 2006, with the encouragement of my family, my friends, and the constituents, I was asked to run for mayor.
Having acquired some political acumen and political leadership skills, I have been privileged to hold that title in this office since that time. Having been given the privilege of working with and being the spokesperson for your team, I would like to say thank you to the residents and voters. You have been very gracious in placing individuals on a team that has given West Grey consistently high-quality service to this municipality in a highly respectful and professional manner. I'm a realist. I don't make any apologies for that personal trait. It has given me the understanding that we can't do everything for everyone. Councils have and are given the duty to make decisions for the greater good of the municipality as a whole. As mayor, I'm realistically enough to see the role as making sure that the new council team sets its goals and plan, and keeping council focused and aimed at accomplishing our duties, responsibilities, and community vision for West Grey. I do, because I care for the wealth, the vitality, and the health of my community, my home, West Grey. By October 22nd, I ask for your vote for realistic leadership that cares. Thank you.
Kevin Eccles. Our next speaker will be Enos Martin.
Thanks for coming out tonight, everyone. It's nice to see everybody out here. I'm Enos Martin. I'm running for mayor because West Grey wants change, and furthermore, it needs change. We don't need more of the same. We don't need a few more decades to patiently wait for change like the last few. This time, we don't have to vote in a status quo candidate. Honesty, transparency, and accountability are the three main issues that West Grey needs right now. Here in West Grey, we have in-camera sessions, even though no one trusts council because of the pork barrel politics going on in their twilight zone. We have a bloated bureaucracy built on hard-earned tax dollars that keeps growing by the day. We spend close to 1/3 of our municipal budget on the police force, but crime rates are crawling with grimy crime that much too often has involved the West Grey police force themselves. Citizens of West Grey need to know in depth what happened in the Eccles-Robinson backroom deal, which involved the past CAO and the current mayor of West Grey. Where there's tax dollars involved, taxpayers need to know. I'm the only mayoral candidate who wasn't involved in this deal, and the only one that does not approve of such abuse of taxpayers' dollars and trusts. Eccles talks about bringing progressive economic growth to West Grey. However, his close to 20-year walk as a career politician has prevented that from happening by refusing to eliminate excessive red tape that enslaves the economic development and well-being of the municipality. To create the growth and prosperity that West Grey deserves, along with promoting job creation and preserving taxpayer protection, I am the only mayoral candidate of the three actively advocating as your agent of change to get West Grey back on track for the taxpayer. I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Enos Martin. And our next speaker, Christine Robinson.
Thank you, Ted, and thank you to the Optimist Club of Normanby Township for hosting this all-candidates meeting. Hello, my name is Christine Robinson, and I'm pleased to be running for Mayor of West Grey. I bring over 30 years of municipal government experience to the position of mayor. I have served on provincial appointed committees and on local government associations, improving policy development and provincial legislation as it relates to local government. I have a master's degree in public administration, a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science with a minor in sociology. I have a Law Society certification in negotiating and conflict management, and I was trained in armed prior by the federal government on emergency preparedness and management. I have immersed myself in the community by serving on many local boards and committees. I am ready to be your mayor. I've been a resident of West Grey since 2006. West Grey is my hometown. I own a hobby farm with my husband Scott in the former Bentic Township. I raise, train, and show horses, and I really enjoy that. I'm running for mayor because I have a passion for local government. I want to help people, and I have the competencies of a good politician. I know how to get things done. I've worked with all levels of government, and I can move quickly to improve West Grey. As your mayor, I will work tirelessly for you, the citizens. I bring a fresh start to West Grey by ensuring the effective and efficient delivery of services, respecting the taxpayer, investing in our economic vitality, and promoting transparency of all West Grey government actions. I am the right person to be the mayor of West Grey, and I will lead West Grey into the future. Here are my pledges if elected. I will maintain taxes through a 4-year budget which will assist in keeping taxes at a reasonable rate. I pledge continued support for Rockwood Terrace and Grey Gables as Grey County long-term care homes. I pledge to prioritize infrastructure needs, put money back into infrastructure for roads, bridges, sidewalks. I pledge my economic vision and my plan for West Grey to be open for business and future ready.
30 seconds.
I pledge that council meetings will be held in each of the communities. I pledge support for local nonprofit organizations to not have to pay for municipal facilities to hold community events. I pledge that decisions made will include decision to the environment and the youth. And heritage, our legacy and identity are very important. I finally pledge to be mayor of West Grey and all of the communities. And I thank you very much, and I would very much respect your vote. Thank you.
Well, there we are. There's the opening statements. We will now move to our question and answer period. If I can get the questions brought up to me in written form. If you have a question you would like to ask, we ask you to line up single file in front of the microphone. I do want to remind you that we need to keep the questions appropriate, not offensive, not derogatory. Don't be attacking integrity of the candidates or anybody else. I really appreciate that. If you want to address a question directly to a candidate, please do so. If I have a question directed at a candidate, I will ask you to grab the microphone and answer the question. If another candidate would like to ask, just raise your hand and we'll go from there, okay? Is that on?
Is that better?
Hey!
Wonderful. Thank you very much to all the candidates for coming out this evening. Something was brought to my attention. Thank you. Something was brought to my attention the day before yesterday that caused me to pose this question. And my question is addressed to one candidate, and that's candidate Enos Martin for mayor. If I may ask you, Mr. Martin, are you the same Enos Martin who was arrested on October 16th, 2014 for driving with a suspended license and $9,000?
I'm going to strike that question as a personal attack. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Mayor Eccles. In your last campaign when you were running, I believe you committed yourself to having natural gas run in Ayton by 2018. And I don't know if it's rumor or not, but I heard that that money went towards a bridge, a walkway bridge in Durham. And I was wondering if this is true and why we don't have natural gas.
The money that, there was no money went to any infrastructure plans that was for natural gas. There was natural gas. We did a lot of work on finding the ability to get provincial funding that is totally necessary for that. There's two companies, Enbridge and Union Gas, that are in control of that. The provincial government made a commitment as well that all rural municipalities would be able to be serviced. The problem was is they didn't put enough money in behind that to expand. There is one other company that is working to expand natural gas. with their own funding, EPCOR, across the northern part of West Grey into Erin Eldersley, on through to Kincardine and Huron-Kinloss. We are...
That'll be time, Kevin.
Approach them as well, too.
Question towards the councils in now. Policing in Ayton in particular. I was broken into this year, as a lot of people were in Ayton, with nothing done in the community in regards to it. And then I was attempted broken into twice again after that, all within a month span. Still, nothing was done. I was told by the police they knew who was the person in this town that was causing this problem, yet nothing was done. I'd like to know, is there going to be any changes in the police in this area?
Yeah, if someone wants to answer that, go ahead, Kevin, since you have the microphone there.
There has been an awful rash of break-ins. There have been a number of arrests. Yes, you're probably correct. Some of them, you may know who it is, but unless you have the smoking gun and the evidence to be able to back up the charges, and that's the integrity of our police force. There have been a number of arrests made in Ayton, in Newstead, in West Grey. Working with a number of other sources, it's not something that is uncommon across the rural areas, and we're trying to do everything that we can, and I think that the numbers state we have a better clearance rate than any other police force in Grey, Bruce, and Wellington County at this point in time.
The representation of the police here in the village was almost non-existent this summer. Okay? Whether speeding or whether break-ins, it just didn't exist.
Rebecca, did you want to speak on that? I saw you.
Yes, so we have had difficulties in Ayton. This is not new. We are not immune to crime. Here's one of West Grey's finest, just walked in. So Ayton is being patrolled. Thank you very much to our police. We do know it's a problem, and we are trying to address it. There have been some specific problem areas in Ayton, and I personally have called and attended. I've called the police chief, and I've attended at police board meetings. I don't get paid for those, but it's important to speak up when the residents have issues.
Anybody else like to speak on that? Okay, I have a written question here. Somebody in the audience would like to know the feelings on affordable housing for low-income residents in our area. Yep. Go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, that's really a key question for West Grey right now. We absolutely need more affordable housing. And as mayor and the incoming council, we will look to how we are planning, where we're planning, and work with the developers and the real estate agents and financial institutions to ensure that we have affordable housing. So it should be a choice for people whether they want to live in a large, extremely large farmhouse, or whether they want to downsize to a small home, or they absolutely need affordable housing. And West Grey certainly needs to be welcoming and have all types of housing within our communities. Thanks.
Anybody else? Yep.
Thanks, Jeff. As I mentioned in my introduction, when you're doing economic development, you need to look at the residential, you need to look at the senior accommodation, and you need to have that as a package. That's why I talk about a strategic plan and filling those gaps. It's not just one of those, it's all of them are a package. And in order to do that, you need to plan as a package.
Affordable housing, if we're going to get into that, is hugely expensive. Affordable housing is not a property tax purpose. Affordable housing is an income sharing. Income sharing is from the province and from the federal government. We have a number of services through Grey County that flow through from the provincial government, from the federal government, on the ability to do that. I would caution any council municipally on using property tax dollars for income sharing. That is a recipe for disaster. We can search through the province, and we've done it. We have a number of residents, and our official plan is encouraging it. And with some of the funding that we've been able to get from the province and the feds, we have seen that already. Is it enough? Probably not. Is it ever going to be enough? Probably not.
So when I think of affordable housing, I think of housing that's subsidized at the Grey County level, but we can also look at just building housing that's affordable in our communities. We should look to intensifying our downtown cores, looking to build rental units right downtown, making our communities walkable and on your bike. And also looking at more creative communities that are coming out. There's models around us for sustainable communities with smaller footprints. So there might be an opportunity to permit the building of smaller homes, maybe tiny homes, and building communities of smaller homes for both younger families who are first starting out, and on the other spectrum, our older generation too could appreciate accessible, smaller housing. Thank you.
Right away, there needs to be a change to the building code for us to allow tiny homes. We have seen intensification, as Mayor Eccles has spoke to. We've talked to or heard Grey County is changing their official plan to allow for a smaller footprint. This is coming. It's not where we're at yet. We are keeping our eye on this.
Anyone else on the table? Yep.
Sorry. I believe what we need to do is cut red tape and regulation, as well as quit raising taxes every year to attract investors and developers to West Grey that would invest in affordable housing.
Something else to consider for us. We're a multi-generational family. My mother-in-law lives with us. Something for families that are on the farm wanting to look after their parents because they're not ready to go into long-term care, but they're still able to live at home, is looking at the possibility of opening up smaller second dwellings on properties in the rural areas.
Anyone else?
And just to go along with Kelly's mention there, that we have done that. We've actually passed a couple of situations where people have had granny flats on their home farms or whatever. And I think it's something coming. There's always a need for low-income housing and that type of thing, and we need to work with our builders, as Mr. Tremble is going to speak here shortly. For an example, that we need to work with our builders to accommodate that, and there's also a push from the ministry that when you build developments that you build all kinds of housing, so whether it be separate dwellings, townhouses, low income, the whole bit. So it's something that's coming, and they definitely need more of it. Thank you.
All right, just before we move on to the next question on the floor, could I get somebody from the back table to come on up here? Just I have a question for the back table there. The next question, please, feel free.
I believe there's a perception that there's favoritism given to Durham. Oh, this is a question for Stephen Townsend. Oh, did this go off?
There we go. Really close.
This is a question for Stephen Townsend. I believe there's a perception that there's a favoritism given to Durham from the Municipal Council over, say, Ayton, Newstead, and Elmwood. There's been some reference to it tonight in remarks and that sort of thing, and I just wonder if It's a perception. I don't know if there's any fact to it, and I wonder if you know, or you can explain it.
Actually, the reason I raised it in my opening remarks is because you hear it everywhere. I'm sure when amalgamation happened, there was not a process that went through and balanced everything. So, number of days that you rent in a community center, date, pick up for garbage, etc. Some of that has been addressed, but obviously some of it is not. And the way you know that is we heard a reference to the bridge. We've heard references to other things about where money's being spent and how each community is being treated. That's something that a procedural review, which is one of the things that I had on my flyer, is that what you do is you go through and you look at what services are provided on each side, whether it be in Ayton or Newstead or even Durham. And what you do is you look for the obvious gaps and you close them. And that's pretty simple. It doesn't cost anything other than the work to do the review. But the satisfaction it would bring, the problems and the undercurrents that you have would bring us together as one West Grey. And I think that's something we seriously need to do, and soon.
Thank you.
Our question from the floor?
Yeah, Don Trumbull from West Grey. Question to Christine. You got great ideas and things you're going to do and everything elected as mayor. I don't understand, though. You were the CEO. You could have done most of those things as a CEO, and you didn't address them. So how are you going to be different as mayor than you would be as CEO?
Thanks for the question. Certainly there's a difference between being on the administrative side and being on the other side of the white picket fence, which is the political decision making. Oh, certainly. So certainly there's a difference between the administrative side, where it's a professional staff, and then on the other side of the white picket fence is the decision makers, the politicians. So within my career, when I was CAO here, I absolutely did a number of things, but it's a support position to the council of the day. One of the things that I can quickly think of is that we, for the first time, had hotspots. If you could think back, many years ago, hotspots were not in any part of West Grey, and I proposed the idea to council, and we actually got a partnership with Wightman. And I'm hoping to this day that it is still in existence. And it was a partnership that was not a monetary exchange in any way, but we absolutely recognized them for that. And we included the library. So our libraries were hubs for free internet. So that one stands out in my mind.
Time.
Oh, shoot. I just want to say we got a merit award for that through an association, so we could have further conversations for sure. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
I just have a question here written in for Kevin Eccles. Why are taxpayers holding a $400,000 mortgage on a property in Durham where the purchaser had no down payment?
The audited statement will show you that it's not a $400,000. It's been paid down. There's been a lot of talk right here amongst everybody about economic development. The municipality bought a piece of property for quite a bit less than $400,000, sold it for slightly more than $400,000. Every payment's been made on that. The company was ready to leave West Grey. They are still here with 25 jobs, and that building is paying taxes. 25 jobs that stayed. That's economic development.
Question from the floor?
Thank you. My question is for Enos, Christine, and Tom. Recently on the radio, Kevin stated that he'd build a 128-bed Rockwood Terrace if he could guarantee that we would get 28 beds from the province, which, by the way, we're unwilling to ask for. But when this scenario was presented to County Council, which our mayor and our deputy mayor both stand on, and were shown the scenario that would save $1.2 million over the current plan, which would save only $700K, while keeping Grey Gables open, our representatives voted against even opening the issue to discuss at County Council. Can I ask each of you, what would you do differently, if anything, and why?
Thank you.
The first thing I would have done before we even got into all this is I would have applied for more beds from the get-go. That's at both facilities. As far as losing any long-term beds in West Grey or Grey County, we cannot afford to do that. If you look at our population right now, it's probably over 40%, and it's growing. I'm at the end of the baby boomer, but there's a tremendous number. We've got another 30 years to go, so it's backwards thinking about giving up any beds. I say we should have applied for more and been proactive.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of keeping Grey Gables open. I think we have an aging population, and we're going to have more and more seniors as time goes on, and we're going to try to have to create more space, not less.
Thank you.
So can everybody hear me? I'm hearing back that I can. All right. So long-term care is a long-term issue in West Grey. It's gone on for a long time. There was major concern that we were going to lose Rockwood Terrace, and many of the community members here at this table, still in West Grey, not present tonight, were strong voices to keep Rockwood Terrace. And that was a county decision where they were going to close it. And I commend each and every one of the individuals that were involved in that. But we're at a juncture right now where Grey Gables is of concern. And I want to tell people, just from a personal perspective, I've been involved in this issue from the beginning, and I wholeheartedly support that Rockwood Terrace and Grey Gables must remain as county long-term care homes. In fact, we're going to need more homes in the very near future. So now's the time to invest in long-term care, not the time to reduce long-term care needs. 28 beds absolutely should have been applied for, and you need a fresh perspective on the people there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I have a written question here for Callie Greenshields. Your election literature says West Grey nestled in nature. How can you say this when your property was used as part of the East Durham Wind Project?
No, and I don't mind addressing it. It might take a little more than the minute allowed. We moved to the property in 2008. It's an old home. It had been fixed up. We moved in February of 2008. By the spring, water in the basement, a new sub pump, the same thing the following year, except more water, and then again the following year. This time it took out the furnace, it took out the sub pump again, and the well pump, and what led to mold and mildew growing in the basement. Not only that, we were fighting the mice. We were on a wood stove. It was great for the first 3 years, and then the insulation was gone. My cousin lives in Florida. She remarked on Facebook at one point that it's cold here in Florida, it's 4 degrees. I replied back, that's nothing, it's minus 30 here, not including the wind chill, and it's 10 degrees in our home.
That's time.
If you want to talk to me afterwards, I can say why we got involved in it. We did our research. We did our due diligence. The kids and I, as a homeschooling family, studied it.
Thank you. Question from the floor?
Since winter, once again, is soon approaching, I am wondering, why did council think it was a wise decision not to plow many of the sidewalks of snow last winter? Small children are not safe walking on the same road as large vehicles, and where is the liability issue here if one of those children gets hit having to use a road instead of a sidewalk?
Thank you for the question. That refers back to what I was saying about services cuts, because that's one right there. And I have the same concern as you do, and I'm sure many people in this community echo that. I don't understand. I've got a son that's 16. He does go to high school. Yeah, he's big enough to walk around, but he said last winter he almost got whacked by a car. So no, it's just as easy to post on the sidewalks that we assume no responsibility. Let's not plow them and make your own way around. So I echo what you're saying, and I think it's a terrible service cut. Thank you.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. The first time that I saw the sign posted in Ayton was, it said something, it was quite a large sign, something to the effect that the sidewalk will not be cleared for the duration of the winter. I actually took a photo of it because I couldn't believe my eyes that the municipality was not taking care of the basic infrastructure. And that's for people that walk on the sidewalks, that's children that walk on the sidewalks, and it's really important for me to ensure the safety of people in West Grey, but also that you feel safe in West Grey, and absolutely sidewalks are part of that. So that is, the sidewalk should be plowed. That's the basis of what I'm saying. Thank you.
Jeff? So it's my understanding that we do plow the sidewalks. If what has happened in some of the urban areas in the towns, if there's two sidewalks, one on each side of the street, in the wintertime, to save costs, we plow one side of the street. It's not like we don't plow the sidewalks. We do plow the sidewalks. And yes, there are liabilities involved, and it just makes sense. I mean, it's like anything else, there's a cost involved of plowing both sides of the street. So it makes sense. As long as you have one side sidewalk, it should be okay. If there are other areas out there that aren't being plowed, then we'd like to hear about it. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, on council, that we are plowing the sidewalks to meet the needs of our mandate. Thank you.
Jeffrey?
Everyone I've talked to in Ayton has told me that there's problems with the sidewalks, with the plowing of the snow in the streets. Referencing an earlier question about Durham getting everything, I live in Durham. We have the same problems. We've had sidewalks removed. We've had sidewalks that are just drawn on the road with paint. We have communities where there's, right near the schools, where there are constant speeders, just like by the school here in Ayton. So I think that this is one of the areas that the two communities are well balanced.
Hold on, Tom. Anyone else before Tom want to speak on this issue?
You want this? All right, apparently Ayton has one sidewalk, and there's currently no sidewalk leading to our school.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to reference, I'm not taking a run here or anything, but I know what you were saying there, Councillor Hutchinson, but I can assure you down where I live, there's only one sidewalk on one side of the road in this particular situation that I'm talking about, and I can assure you it was my son that crossed and almost got hit. There is one sidewalk, and it was posted by the municipality that there would be no winter maintenance. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm not taking a run at you, but you have to understand, I do live here. The other situation is we've got no sidewalk leading on one side of the road where we have a child. There's no option on either side that has to get to our school. So we have a lack of a sidewalk. So there's no safety there as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, a question written in for Scott Forrester. After the info meeting on the Normanby landfill site, what in your opinion is the next step for staff to take?
Was there, I have to be more informed on the landfill. I left the meeting with more questions than answers.
Question from the floor?
I co-lead a hiking group, and today we had a hiking group who came to Durham, and we did one of the trails, and they said, "This is the neatest trail I've been on all summer." We had another group from another area about 3 weeks ago, and we took them up through the conservation park, and they said this is the best hiking trail, and it's beautiful through there. But those two particular trails are not joined. And we all know that physical activity is very important if we want to keep the old people out of the nursing homes. And, no, not old people. Older, a little older, a little older. Seniors, you know. And there are lots of us around, and lots of the senior people do use the walking trails. I want to, and then our hiking trail group wanted to come to Ayton, and we were told that there really isn't a walking trail in Ayton. And is that right? That's what you're told. We've done walking in Newstead, lovely trail along the river there. But I think it's important that if we want to promote tourism and physical activity, we need to try and work to connect different walking trails in the different communities and have a lot better signage and promotion, because that's what we are, is an outdoor recreation type community. And I want to know who's going to hook up those trails for us so we can go all the way around town. Or we can go to Ayton or anywhere.
So Donna, I think that's a really great idea. We have to look at activities that the municipality can support. We certainly don't want sedentary lifestyles. We know that in West Grey there's a lot of leisure and recreation activities, and certainly horseback riding could be one of them on a trail, but certainly walking is really important for everyone. It's an activity that everyone perhaps could partake in if they choose. So that is an initiative coming from you and perhaps your group, and it would be fantastic to take a look at that and see how far we could get with that project in terms of whatever equipment is needed and funding and promotion. And I think it's a fantastic community initiative. So you've just sparked some creative thoughts in me at this point. So thank you for that.
And when you increase the trails, make sure you put garbage cans along them.
I'd like to speak on that, Donna, because that has been one of the things that I've promoted or talked about right since I got on council, that I would like to see a trail committee. And we haven't been able to do that. Parks did some work on the trails in Durham. As you know, they're not where they should be in terms of signage, because there are some liability issues there that we need to look at. But I agree, we need a committee, and we need public on that committee so that we can move forward. Newstead has a beautiful trail. Ayton doesn't have one yet, but there's no reason why they couldn't have some trails there. So I think it is something that in next term I would like to see happen. There's some information coming forward in a workshop about trails and liabilities coming up in the near future. But I agree, I would like to see it happen. We have the potential there. It just we need to get together and make it work. So look forward to that.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Doug, that we need to strike a trail committee, because I know there's people like you, Donna, out there who are engaged and want to participate in building a better West Grey together. And what a great way to engage our youth through something like a trail committee as well. We have these beautiful natural assets all through West Grey, and we could do a better job to highlight them and elevate them and showcase them. I know we're all proud. Maybe we don't want to give our top secret spots away, but it's time we do some mapping and some signage. Thank you.
You're very much right. It would be great, Donna, to have a lot more trails out there. I said in my opening statements about being realistic. The trail in Durham, it's been worked on, and I see one of the individuals here that when he was on council worked on trying to get that connectivity. The connectivity goes through private property. The municipality owns a little, the Conservation Authority owns a little, but the rest of it goes across private property. And once you start putting public across private property and lawyers on lawsuits, and maybe because you don't have enough garbage cans for garbage, the public is very hesitant to allow individuals going across. And I think the snowmobile clubs are struggling with that now as well too. It would be great. We have great county forests that certainly have walking. Conservation Authority has quite a bit of property open to the public for walking as well too. But for the municipality to go, we would, from the public perspective, have to start purchasing property. It's difficult to find enough money for affordable housing on purchasing property without. That's the realistic part of it. I would like to do it and be able to find it, but we've been working long and hard on it and haven't got there yet.
Anybody else at the table like to answer that question? Bob?
Perhaps a conversation with those that run the Bruce Trail, because a lot of that trail does go through private property and they allow use for it. So it's a conversation that we should have with the Bruce Trail people.
I think all the trails, the walking trails, are good. They seem to be more coming all the time, but we do have to remember there is other infrastructure that has to be done. And when you say that two trails aren't connecting, we have roads right now that aren't connecting either. And pretty soon we may all have to just use the trails because we can't get down the roads.
When the snow falls on the walking trails, are they cleared of snow during the winter?
Snowshoes, yeah.
Anyone else at the table? All right, we have a written question for Bob Weirmeyer. How would Grey County support keeping both Grey Gables and Rockwood Terrace, as this is a county decision and West Grey only has 2 weighed votes?
Well, from what I've seen, I really think it's the council that should be advising our people that are going to Grey County Council. This is something, if our representatives there are saying, no, we don't want to keep the 2 of them, where do we come into this? This is something that the council should be advising the representatives to go to Grey County and all the other counties too. Right now, the weighted votes that they have, I'm really not sure about either. It gives more perspective to Owen Sound. And Owen Sound is saying no, and that's an awful lot of percentage of the votes. I think that's another thing we have to look at. We do need Grey Gables. We do need the Rockwood Terrace. There is a plan out there to expand on them both, and it's going to save some money. I really think the councils all have to look at this.
Yep.
I agree with Bob to some degree. First of all, you start off with Rockwood was going to leave West Grey and Durham, and as part of the Safe Rockwood Committee, we managed to keep it here. We did it respectfully. We did it with facts, and I think that's what we need from the other side of the road. We really do need. We do need the numbers and the information that actually will convince the county that it has to change. It's not just West Grey that voted against it. There was a majority that did, and I've sat through a lot of those, and I've seen the discussions, I've seen the documents. And I know it's controversial.
Again, I'll ask you to leave.
I know that the information is out there, and all I want to say is that if in fact we stick to the facts, I believe Grey Gables can be saved. It will be there, but again, we have to do it the right way. That's all I'm saying, and it is possible. I also agree with Bob. The council should be directing how West Grey votes. That's the important part to the whole story. And if we don't do that, if we only have 1 or 2 people that are actually making that decision, that's a problem. And I think we need to address and be honest with each other. Let's work with them. Let's work with Grey Gables. Let's make it work. And I think you can get the business case you need.
Anybody else at the table like to answer the question?
When the Grey County long-term care came into place, the first swath was to close Rockwood Terrace, move the 100 beds to Grey Gables. The councillor, one of the councillors from Grey Highlands at that time, stood up and said, I understand that West Grey, Durham, this is a very hurtful thing. But to be able to get the capacity we need, to be able to deliver the service we need, we've got to put these 2 homes together. A lot more research was done. It was proposed that the two homes come together, no loss of beds, 166 bed new home be built in Durham called Rockwood Terrace. At that point in time, and I've said it many times before, and it seems to have got lost in the rhetoric, do not close Grey Gables. Use Grey Gables as what it was built for. We talked about affordable, rental, assisted living, what Grey Gables was built for. Don't close it, use it. For some of those, what did you say, Donna? Seniors? And that is lacking tremendously as well, too. The plan right now is not to lose any beds in Grey County. The plan is to keep Grey Gables open as a retirement assisted living, what it was built for in the first place.
I just want to make reference to a couple of things because this long-term care terminology, it came around about 2007 and it actually became 2010 was when it became real. So none of the facilities were ever built for long-term care. The new Rockwood, yes, because that now we have a clear definition on it. So as far as that's going, Grey Gables, on the other hand, is a Class A facility. So my opinion, again, we need to apply for more beds. They just don't come if you don't apply. Thank you.
Anybody else like to answer that question?
So a mayor and a deputy mayor go to Grey County, and there are, this is consistent with all other municipalities within Grey County. The mayor and deputy go to the county council. Grey Gables and Rockwood Terrace, so the long-term care issue, long-term care portfolio is a Grey County issue. But when you have a mayor and deputy at the local level that are representing all of you and people that are not here that reside in West Grey, and you have a council, you should listen to the citizens and what they're looking for in their community. And certainly that was a misstep with current representation. And I fully believe that it's the local level that provides input to the mayor and deputy and have that representation at the county. And certainly when you're at the county level, you are looking at the broad spectrum of all the municipalities in the county. So there's two perspectives that you have to balance out. Now, long-term care is a big issue. We did hear that there was comments about you're not out on the street yet, and that really alarmed me because we're dealing with people that are in our long-term care homes, and we have to be absolutely respectful and represent them and keep the long-term care homes within our county.
John Bell.
Thank you very much, Ted. Yeah, we can be here all night debating this. So there's a lot of facts and a lot of figures have gone into this. A lot of thinking's gone into this. The 166 beds, though, we have the ability in Grey County to build a state-of-the-art facility with 166 beds. Those have been deemed right now to be hooked up to sewer and water in Durham somewhere, someplace. That land has not been purchased yet. The province, in the meantime, has said that they will issue 15,000 beds in the next 10 years. What they haven't said was that they will be private or public, or if there's any funding is going to come with those beds. So that's 15,000 next 10 years and another 15,000 after that. Toronto alone has asked for 30,000 beds. We are not the only area in the province that is growing, and we have 90% more beds per public than the rest of the province. So the chance of us getting more beds, we're going to have to stand in line, ladies and gentlemen, because those beds are going to go down the 401 corridor right from Ottawa right to Windsor. Oh. I'm getting the red signal.
Time. We'll take a question from the floor.
Great. First of all, thank you all very much for standing behind your values and putting that to work for our community. It's nerve-wracking enough asking a question. I don't envy you in the position that you're looking to acquire either, because it's not easy to balance the budget. It's not easy to decide which sidewalk gets plowed and which trail gets maintained. So today I'm here with our 10-year-old daughter, Amalia, and I didn't bring her so that we could get out early and you'd all understand, but we probably will be leaving early. But I brought her, and she inspired this question, actually. She noticed that there were an awful lot of one-time use plastic bottles in the room. So, to me, in my opinion, the landfills and the potential incinerators are the problematic result of a wasteful collective mentality that is our current 21st century reality, unfortunately. Thank you. I would like to vote for ideas that promote proactive actions versus disaster management. Who can I vote for? I want to hear what you have to say.
Mr. Townsend here? Sorry, I wasn't too sure which one.
One thing that came up last night at the dump meeting here, talking about Normanby and stuff, and it was a very good point that was raised by Jenny's husband, I believe, that Mr. Parsons, sorry, the other half of the team. Okay, and I was thinking of it also because I have two young grandchildren myself, is to take the program about recycling. They've got to take it to the schools, get the kids involved at that level, and teach them what needs to be recycled, how it needs to be recycled, how it needs to be cleaned, how we need to divert from the landfills, because it's their future that we're trying to save with these, by not putting the stuff into the landfills. And it's them that we need to educate, because they're going to get the education, then they're going to take it home to their mom and dads, grandparents, and whoever else, and hopefully divert a lot of stuff from the landfill.
Thank you. Thank you, Amalia, for the great question. Last night was very informative. I think, yes, we have to come at the problem of our waste management from three directions. We have to talk to our kids about how to get them to educate their parents a little bit. We also have to learn how to just have less garbage. Maybe we need to create some bylaws that there are no plastic bottles in any municipal buildings. We can do that. As to disaster management, I have put a gasifier on my top 10 bold ideas because I do believe it's a future technology, and I do see it as a hopeful person that someday in 10 years it will be a green, sustainable energy option. Right now in Vienna, Austria, they have a gasifier there that takes 140,000 tons of garbage. I'm laughing because we don't have that much here. And you can heat 10,000 homes with that. And that gas right now is actually, there's no emissions. It's quite remarkable. And in 2010, they were actually awarded the closest city to sustainable waste management was given to them because of that gasifier. So let's not give up on our future yet. Our technology will be there someday soon. Thank you.
That's a great question. I brought this with me. I've been using it for about 6 years. I think that industry and government are kind of playing a little bit of a con on us. They're telling us that we've got to reduce our carbon footprint, and yet they're making it harder and harder. They're wrapping things in packaging that we have no way of disposing of. They're selling us things that we don't want. They're making us commute by car instead of by rail or by bus because they're taking away the public transit lines. So we're being told that this is our fault and we've got to cut back, we've got to cut back, we've got to cut back. There's a display in the West Grey office right now that says, here's a bunch of stuff that can be recycled and some of it can't be. Can you pick out which is which? And I went through and I could and I couldn't and I wasn't sure. Tim Hortons cups are not recyclable. But every day I'm throwing stuff into the blue box and I'm thinking, can this be recycled? Maybe not. Maybe, I know milk cartons can be, but if they have the little plastic thing on them, can they? I'm throwing an envelope in. It's got a cellophane window in it. Can that be recycled? Maybe I should be on the safe side and throw it in the garbage and haul it to the landfill site, right? That doesn't sound like a solution either. So it seems to me that the producers of this packaging, the producers of this material, need to be taking responsibility for getting that stuff out of the landfill and out of the system. There are initiatives at the province to start talking about this, and we need to be applying pressure on them.
Time.
Great question.
Yeah, and I agree, Jeff. And there is a push right now from the ministry to have the producers help cover the costs of waste management. Right now, we pay 50% of the cost of recycling. The ministry pays the other 50%. The government's saying, no, we should have the producers pay for it all because they're the ones producing it. We're the ones that end up dealing with it. So there is a push for that, and that's one way of looking after it. The problem with recycling is changing. The end producers that take the product are being more particular about what they're taking. We're sending a lot of contamination. We're getting a little complacent as people, and we don't clean the stuff out as well as we should. Therefore, if it's contaminated, then it goes into the landfill, and we pay for that. So we have to do a better job of recycling what we do. We're looking after what we do recycle, but there are changes coming. And we'll have to look forward to that. The gasification are down the road. How we deal with our garbage, our household garbage, we don't know for sure yet. It's changing. Technology is changing. But the education thing is right. I was there years ago when it all started in education and promoting Blue Box, and that's one way to get to it for sure.
Real quick, if you notice out in our entryway, there are there's refillable water stations, and we have, as a municipality, put those into the arenas because that is a great way to reduce it. Thanks so much for the question, hon.
Great question, Amalia, and thanks for coming. Youth engagement right here. I was recently at a festival in Aurelia, and it was a fully compostable festival. So they weren't even relying on recycling. And when you went to their waste stations, they were clearly marked. They had a huge bin for compost and the tiniest bin for throwing waste out, another tall bin for recycling. And every vendor there was required to provide packaging that would break down and be compostable. It's so successful at this festival, Aurelia is looking to them for their best practices and is modifying and learning from this festival. So we've got lots of models out there to learn from. We have that personal responsibility of just buying less one-time use plastic. At the municipal level, we can do these refill stations, we can become a blue water community, and we can continue to work, put pressure on these companies to take responsibility for this packaging that we're getting stuck with. So there's many ways we can participate. I'd love to see a waste committee. I would love that. Community engagement.
Time.
Thank you.
Last night at the dump meeting, Miss Mary Lou Paffer brought up the idea about educating the public. Hopefully somebody like Mary Lou Paffer would step forward and run a program like that.
So, amazing question, Amalia. I think that's really important. I'd like to be here, hopefully when you're here in 10 years, and maybe representing our community and saying, we've done it. We've actually come to a way that we can reduce our garbage and protect our environment and become actual stewards of our environment. So I've been talking around to some experts in the community about waste management, and I really think we need to go big picture. This is a discussion for the community and the incoming council and the experts out there, but go big picture and then just bring in phases of where we need to get to, but make it to a point where people understand why they are recycling and they're reducing their garbage and that making a big commitment to it. But if we do the small steps first and become absolutely rewarded in what we're doing, because the reward is the environment, then we can push further and go for greater steps, like maybe zero waste. You know, how wonderful would that be?
Time.
I just remember my grandma used to recycle everything, and I never saw much garbage.
Time.
So.
Kevin?
Thank you. One thing that is really being pushed at the present moment throughout Ontario, done very, very well in Alberta. We've got the water bottles, I see there's a couple of other drink bottles up here. 98% of Ontario's beer bottles get recycled because they've got a 10-cent deposit on them. It's being pushed back to the manufacturers. We'll probably end up paying for it, but the water bottles won't be at the side of the road. They'll be back up and recycled and reused if there was a 5-cent. That's got to be from more of a province-wide, but that's one of the biggest pushes that we've got to start putting forward. Bob?
Yes, I don't usually have water bottles, but my coffee wasn't big enough tonight. Yeah, I have the unique experience of driving a garbage truck for about 10 years, and as far as teaching the public, you are very correct. Most of the stuff in the bags should be recycled. We do need to teach more. We do need to save more ourselves. The dumps are a big issue, as people heard here last night. There's got to be more things done to try and save what we got. Kevin, as far as the water bottles go, out in Alberta they have a deposit on just about every drinking container there is. Milk, water, juice, the whole shebang. It is a great idea.
David?
When I used to work for Ontario Hydro for 6 summers in between schooling, Bachelor of Science and DDS, I might add. I didn't put my background in there before. Anyways, we used a thermos, and what happened to thermoses? My bottle is still unopened. When did we all have to have so much water during the day? How come if we do have to have a water, then we carry a thermos around instead of going through this material and tossing it on the side of the road? I'd just like to have somebody from the audience answer that.
Anybody else like to answer the question? Callie?
I was just going to echo what...
Guys, respect, come on.
I was just going to echo what Joe said. Calgary does have the same thing with what Calgary does with their recycling, so.
All right. Question from the floor?
Thank you all for your thoughtful answers.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'm going to change gears on you a little bit, and mainly because I'm a farmer. And there's something called the agricultural tax rate, which is at 25%. This rate can be lowered. The max is 25, it can be lowered. And in Ontario right now, it ranges anywhere from 18 to 25%. So I would like to know from you people where you stand on the 25% agricultural rate.
Very good question, Paul. Thank you very much. We have had a couple of presentations at Grey County about this and decided to leave it as it was for now. Okay? We also had a conference at AMO where a number of us did visit Mr. Hardiman in a meeting. Mr. Eccles had the dubious distinction of providing that information to Mr. Hardiman, who that day, and he is new at that portfolio, he did not get it. And Mr. Eccles, in front of the Minister of Agriculture and all of Grey County, proceeded to tell Mr. Hardiman about tax rate and where it should go. I believe it needs to be driven by the province, although some counties have taken it upon themselves to do that. The problem with the whole thing, and I'm going to let Kevin's going to want to speak here, but the problem with the whole thing, it has to be made up somewhere else. So until it's driven by the province, until that comes by so that revenue is not lost, we have to do a little bit more work on that. Am I willing to lower the tax rate for farmers? Yes, I am, if it doesn't mean it's put on the industrial rate or doesn't mean it's put on the residential rate.
Excuse me, can I respond to that a little bit? Because farms are selling at $1 million bucks 100 acres now, I would say that their tax rate should be lowered because you're getting substantially. Farmland has gone up 58% in Grey County. Okay, so your taxes have gone up substantially. So I'm not seeing the problem with lowering the 25%.
Tax rates are a very complex issue because if your assessment goes up, let's use residential housing. Everybody here's got a $400,000 home, $200,000 home, whatever figure you want to use. If everybody's assessment goes up $50,000, there's no more revenue because we use a notational tax rate and back that assessment growth out on average for everybody. The difference here is, Paul, and I think you know it, the $1 million farm, yes, it went up greater than everybody else. Residential increase in the last term was up about 3%. Industrial, commercial was up about 4%. In West Grey, farm assessment went up almost 80%. In Southgate, it was over 100%. By dropping the rate, you're going to have to pick it up some other place in the pie. That, to me, is not the solution. The solution is ask the province to drop if they want to keep a short food or a low price food. Drop the education rate to farmers.
Bob?
I do agree that the rate should be dropped. I have heard why we can't. I think it should be the councils of all the municipalities around that take it to the province and say this has to be done. One other big problem that people haven't heard about is when your impact does assess this, they are using the fact that the buildings that you have there, if something happened to them, you would replace them. They are using the replacement cost to do the assessments on your farms. This is going to be major for the price that you're paying through impact. That really has to be addressed.
Paul, I'll just quickly answer your question because I think it's really important. So I was at an OFA meeting where there was representatives from the county there listening to the concerns of the member association members, the farmers of West Grey. And they talked about different impacts, negative impacts and some hardships. And what I was concerned with was because Grey County does set that rate, would there be an opportunity for County Council not to put the rate at the maximum? That unfortunately did not happen, but I absolutely listened to what the farmers say and the farmer representatives, and I would agree that the rate should be lower, and I think that's really important. I obviously need to learn more about this information from specifically from farmers, but that's my position at this point.
Am I allowed another question?
Just one question per.
One question, okay, thank you.
I think the question is a very important one, and I think farmers have been overtaxed and overregulated for far too long, and it's time to bring relief to them.
Do you want to go back in the line and ask it?
I think if your taxes went up more than my taxes, that's not fair, and that the farmers' tax rates should therefore go down. If your tax rate went up the same percentage as my tax rate, then I'd say that's fair. So we'd have to look at our tax bills.
Okay, just one last statement. If you ate today, thank a farmer.
I got a written question here. This is for the current and incoming new council. What progress is being made with the bridge east of County Road 3? I'm going to say the Kennedy Bridge is what they're talking about. Yep. Rebecca?
So everyone may follow council minutes or online or so. We have undertaken the first of 3 bridge rationalization studies. Council currently has been preparing to create a long-term plan for the bridges, culverts, roads, sidewalks, everything in our municipality. This is something that needs to be assessed with data, which we have done. We have already spent money, taxpayer money, to get these assessments done. The first one for Bentic has been completed. We look forward to Glenelg as well as Normanby, and this will shape which projects we take on first. based on need, based on budgets. This is a priority for myself. I hope it is a priority for everyone that is applying to be on council. We have a lot of bridges. We have over 100 bridges, and we will have very objective information from a consultant telling us which bridge first, which bridge second, which bridge third, and we need to budget accordingly.
Time. Question from the floor?
Well, I guess my question kind of just follows along with that. I don't have a big thought-provoking question. We're farmers. We live in Normanby Township, and I'm just really tired of the roads that we live on. And I've seen in other townships, like Bentic especially, over the years, they've tar chipped a lot of their back roads. Ours, I mean, all we're asking for is a little tar chip on our roads, and some of the roads don't even need much work to do it. And yet, I see them spending all this money on constantly grading the roads, hauling all the gravel, putting the calcium down. And to me, it all just seems like, why not take that money and put it into tar chipping some roads so that when you drive down the road in the spring, you don't get stuck in the middle of the road. These are supposed to be our roads that we live on. I know a lot of the town people, they don't care, but we have to live on these roads. And when you drive down a road, it's the only way to get home, and you get stuck in the middle of the road, or you see somebody, which I have seen, actually literally watch a car going down the road and get yanked off into the ditch because of the mud and mire in the road. It's sad, and I just want to know who here really has even given that any kind of consideration besides, because I don't want to hear anymore about how we don't have money. Because I know you got money, because you want to spend it everywhere else, but you don't want to spend it on us. So I would like to hear something.
Christine?
So that is incredibly important. I've got some notes here because our infrastructure needs maintenance, modern upgrades, and replacement projects in place that are required and on a timely basis in all of West Grey. So that includes roads, bridges, sidewalks, and that's exactly where we need to put the money. It's one of the core services of the municipality. So a core service is maintaining our roads and bridges and sidewalks. So that is something that we have to come back to basics and start paying attention to.
Excellent question, and I'm not going to disclose the gentleman's name, but I'm talking to a gentleman here in Normanby. He's got over 30 years background in it, engineering on roads and whatnot, and he told me, he took me out and he showed me, we're putting the wrong stuff down time and time again, and I support what you're saying because all we're doing is we're going back to next month and we're doing it all over again. And I've been out in the county roads, I've been driving all over the place during the campaign. And I'll tell you what, the county roads, the municipal on the outskirts, they're terrible. And we should be embarrassed to even say it's part of our system.
Bob?
I do live in Bentic, and I don't think we have any more paved roads than you do. In fact, I've seen trucks that the frames broke hitting the potholes in them. They were atrocious this year. Yeah. Also, I have had people on these same roads that say, no, we don't want them paved. As soon as they're paved, we end up with a speed run there. So, you know, we do have to look after safety too. Maybe a little more maintenance, maybe a lot more gravel in some cases.
No, I don't think that's a good excuse about the speeding and all that stuff. We just want our roads looked after, and we just want to be able to drive down our roads safely and not get stuck in the middle of them and not see all that money wasted over and over and over again, putting more gravel, which, by the way, in the winter time gets plowed into the ditch anyways. I can't mow my ditch anymore because it's full of gravel.
I think that's how they widened the roads in Bentic, was just did that. No, there are two sides to every coin as far as the paving. I have seen people that don't want it done, but yeah, sometimes the maintenance really does get behind. Some of the spring things, as you're saying, with corduroy roads are underneath and they keep coming back up. This does have to be addressed at some point too.
Callie?
It's not just you that's traveling on the road. As a former bus driver, driving those school buses down those gravel roads, especially in the spring, is not fun. We have children that are traveling those roads in those big yellow buses, and their safety has to come first as well.
I'm not a road engineer, but I'll just speak to some of the things that we have talked about at this term in council. We have a new director of infrastructure, and one of the first things that he did when he came into his role was to do a traffic study on the roads. So we have data in terms of how much traffic is in all the roads. So that's when we, moving forward in the next council, whoever's here, they can use that data to look at what's the most traveled roads, what kind of surface should be on that road, whether it's pavement, whether it's tar and chip, or whether it's gravel. The other thing that's happening with, this spring wasn't a tough year in terms of our roads, we know that, because of the weather that we had. But one of the things that we have done in West Grey, and I think is a good thing, is that they have put rollers on the back of the graders. So after they grade the road, the roller will automatically pack that gravel down, because you're right, in the past, you know, they would put the gravel down, and then in the wintertime they'd a lot of that gravel end up in the ditch.
Time.
So that's some of the things that we worked on.
This year we put the gravel on in the spring, so hopefully we won't have as much of it in the ditches.
But I noticed that
the
you
roads
didn't
won't get wider in Bentic this year.
But I noticed that you didn't do all the roads this year, like you usually do.
We do not do all the roads, and we've never done all the roads since West Grey has started that we've put gravel on. Do half. North half of the township one year, south half of the township next year. That's been going on since amalgamation. It was going on in the townships before then. So I guess I got 2 minutes because I got 2 questions. The second thing, but into yours, you were looking at getting the roads paved or tarred and chipped. Mr. Hutchison just said he's very upset with the county roads, that they're atrocious. There's no county road in Grey County that's not asphalt or tarred and chipped. They're all hard surfaced. So I don't know, Tom, what that was about. It does cost, on a yearly basis, about $200 more to do a tar and chip road, to maintain and project to go forward, than it does a gravel road. Just the costing. Fixing the potholes with cold mix, and planning on putting the maintenance down on it every 7 years on a tar and chip road. $200 a year more than it is a gravel road. Proven numbers.
But I just figure, you know, we pay our taxes too.
I'm going to ask you to move aside. Thank you. Question from the floor?
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to bring it back to about transparency. There's been a lot of talk about transparency and not having that information out to the public, especially about budget and how money is spent. In 16 years that I've been in this area, all I've heard is rumor. Trying to find out information is have to go to West Grey to try to find out information from the municipality. I'm not able to do that. I've asked questions, I've viewed their website, and what I'd like to ask here is, how do we know how the money is spent? How do we know how it's budgeted? We have West Grey citizens that are working during the daytime. They're taking care of their children, and they're taking them to activities. Plus, the West Grey citizens are also out there volunteering and fundraising. That's how they kept Ayton and Neustadt and Durham alive, because the citizens are working. So how do we know? We don't have time in the evenings to come home and sit on the website of West Grey. Can someone ask me, how can we find out? When we can't attend council meetings, how can we find out?
Kevin?
How much information do you want? The budget is there.
Thank you.
The audited statements are there. You know, and I'm very thankful, Ms. Walker, that you brought it forward.
They're not readable as far as knowing how you spend it, where the walkway bridge money went, how that's spent, why fundraising had to be done in order for the walkway bridge. There's been a lot of discussion about that here today. We can attend council meetings, sir, and to read, I went through to try to even find a motion. And it's 150 pages in your council meeting minutes, and a lot of them are about the spending of the different councillors, their mileage, all of their payments, attending meetings. But as far as the breakdown of the accounting so that it's transparent for the citizens, I've never been able to find it out, and I've been living there for 16 years.
You've been living in West Grey for 16 years?
I have been living in Grey County for 24, and I've been living in basically West Grey, yes, I'm across the road, for 16 years.
You're from Southgate. I could understand
I'm
why you're
across
having
the
trouble.
road from West
Yeah.
Grey.
Okay, look,
I do
yeah.
business in Durham, and always
Very
do
fair.
Durham first, and then Ayton, then Neustadt, and Hanover.
Yes. How I can teach you to read a financial statement? Please come, make an appointment, and we'll go through it.
I tried to make
All right.
5 appointments this summer, Mr. Eccles, and I couldn't even
Okay,
reach
I'm going to
you.
ask you to stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine, did you want to answer?
I just think we need to make information as accessible as possible and to have that absolutely available. The agendas need to be clear. There needs to be opportunity for people to be able to know what's on an agenda and make a decision if they want to speak. And a delegation is kind of it's a very restrictive approach, so I'd be looking at an opportunity to fix the way the agendas are set out and how information is distributed to the community, so you know exactly what's going on in the community and what the decisions of council are, especially on planning, committee of adjustment issues. It's all by the pin of the legal name, but not on the street name, in effect. So we need to bring that a little more forward so that people are completely aware of what the activity that's going on with their council.
Thanks for sharing that concern. I know in doing my research and preparing for tonight, I had trouble finding the information on the website too. Carrie was always great to reply to any questions, so I appreciate that. But I do think we can do a better job of pulling out those reports from those 150-page agendas. Let's pull them out and make them really clearly visible on the website. Let's have a public budget meeting for everyone to weigh in as the budget is in process. And let's have more frequent budget updates. And I'd like to see more simple infographics on a 1- or 2-page form that we can all read easily from year to year. And perhaps we have an auditing committee. So a committee of everyday residents, a report card of how we're progressing from year to year. Thank you.
Just so there's no confusion, we do have regular audits done in the municipality. And if I can quote the latest audit that was just done a month ago, and we got a copy of that at our last audit, it was shared by our auditor that West Grey is in a sound financial position, unquote. So before there's any confusion that says that there's money's missing or the budgeted items aren't there, all the budgets are available to anyone who comes in and asks for them. Every budget line has a code that is used by the Treasury Department to look after the budget. I think West Grey and the ladies in the Treasury part do an excellent job and do not let us get offside.
Mr. Townsend?
Yeah, the other thing that's important is you can attend, and I realize some people work, but you can attend and get access to the budget process, so you can actually start and see how it's built. That's number one. Number two is I do believe there should be a summary, if you will, of the budget by, I'm going to call it high level. And I don't know if that's online. I haven't been able to find it yet. But I do believe that if you had something like road maintenance, or you had something on building maintenance, or whatever, at those kind of levels, and if you want to drive down to the level of understanding the accounting, you can. Not everybody can deal with accounting statements. They can become complicated. If it's a code versus a description, it does become difficult for some. So that would be my suggestion going forward.
I think Laura raised a very good point, and I think Beth really hit the nail on the head there, that if we want to have transparency, and a lot of people here have spoken about transparency, we're going to have to make effort. Transparency isn't an easy thing to do. We're going to have to put the effort in to make sure that what we're all doing as a team is clearly understandable by everybody who wants to know. So I think we should be putting that effort in.
This will be the last question of the question and answer period from the floor. Ma'am?
Hello. Thank you for all of the candidates here. It's good to hear from all of you. West Grey, when it comes to economic development and youth retention, has one important disadvantage to a lot of the neighboring communities, and that is reliable, high-speed internet. With the SWIFT initiative, it will be bringing to the rural areas, but our urban areas, Durham, Ayton, to a certain extent Newstead, do not have fiber internet. Hanover, Walkerton, Mount Forest, they all have high-speed internet, and businesses nowadays, anything in IT or anything that would possibly be doing work for the Bruce development and anything like that needs that internet capability. Do any of you have thoughts on that or ways to get it? I know the communities in the area have worked with Wightman's, but I don't know, like even in Durham, we're limited to DSL.
So we definitely have to work harder on SWIFT. I mean, that is taking quite a long period of time. Fiber optics, high-speed internet is really important. We have an imbalance of access in West Grey, and I was speaking with a citizen who does not have the ability to give her son Netflix. And I know that's a little different than homework, but no Netflix for this young person, yet his friends on the next concession over have that access. So I would like to make an equal access for internet and fiber optics. So that is absolutely an infrastructure issue that I would address.
We can't even do that reliably in Durham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not good.
Kevin?
Couldn't agree with you more. And maybe Adam is at the, Adam doesn't want to. He works for Wightman's. He's sitting back there recording this evening. Maybe he wants to ask why Wightman's. CRTC has, it's in private hands. As much as we look and persuade, the Wightman cable, been on to Wightman's quite a bit. That Wightman cable that serves Hanover comes right through Newstead. Why? What? Wightman's at this point in time, there's some that are, there's some that aren't. How the private sector is doing it, and again, I go back to the idea that the property tax gets back into that. It's got to be a big fight with the province to be able to get this in. SWIFT, the initiative is coming. They started work on the first project a couple of weeks ago, and down near Chatham. Grey County has been in the lead. The lead person there was the IT director before we went on to SWIFT. So we are getting close, but it's an awful uphill battle with the private sector to be able to make it available to everybody.
Okay, SWIFT. Let's talk about that. That was a Grey County leading project. Jeff Hogan worked on and continues to work on that project. My husband works in automation. This is where you program robots to do automated things. Coding in Canada is getting a huge push from the federal government for children, our youngest little citizens, to start learning code. This is the beginning of where we're headed. My husband, because he can work on the computer, can work 2 days from home, as long as he has good, reliable internet. That being said, the 2 days that he works from home, now we can go to lunch and we can spend money in West Grey. That is a very positive thing for West Grey, and that is how we will build our community economically. Every developer that has come into West Grey for committee of adjustments or so on, my priority has been to ask them, what are you doing in your development to address SWIFT, to address high-speed internet. There's one actual community in Ireland that I read about recently that decided they wanted high-speed internet. They all trenched it from their house to the road. Let's roll up our sleeves and get connected.
All right, thank you. If you do have a question that we didn't get to tonight because of time constraints, you will have an opportunity to talk to the councillors and the deputy mayors and all those people separately afterwards. We are going to go on to our closing statements. Again, each candidate for councillors will have 2 minutes, and the deputy mayor and mayor will have 3. So we will start from the bottom. Christine Robinson. Sorry, the bottom of the list before. My apologies. Reverse order, thank you.
That's a better statement. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Normanby Optimist Club for hosting this. It has been a wonderful evening. West Grey is a wonderful place to live. The model nestled in nature is accurate. It's a great description of the beauty and attractiveness of West Grey. West Grey, however, needs a fresh start to its local government and its council. My name's Christine Robinson, and I am that fresh start that's needed as mayor on council. I bring confidence, trust, and integrity to the position of mayor. I bring leadership to council, and that will benefit all of West Grey. I will represent all of the people and all of the local identities that make up our wonderful communities. I will make decisions that make sense by using data, research, and citizen input. And I'm speaking as an I right now because I'm campaigning as a candidate. So I just make it clear that when you're on council, it is a absolute council government body decision. However, I will continue. I have what it takes, and I am the right person to be mayor of West Grey. I will listen to you, the taxpayers, and together we can make change for West Grey for the better. As elected officials, we need to be held accountable and work for our citizens to ensure the most effective and efficient spending of your hard-earned money. And I just want to say that I will pledge to work every day for you, the citizens, and I will listen and I will lead West Grey to a bright future. So on October 12th through October 22nd, I would respectfully ask for your vote. So please vote Christine Robinson for Mayor of West Grey, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Enos Martin will be next.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. It's great to be here with everyone, and there's a lot of things I'd like to do if I was elected mayor, but the most important is I'd want to listen to your input on all the different matters. And we've seen what Kevin Eccles can do as mayor, and he's done a lot of good things. We've also seen what Christine can do as CEO. She's done good things as well. But I ask that you now let me show what I could do as mayor. Thank you.
Enos Martin. Kevin Eccles will be next.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for coming out and staying. This evening has brought forward a lot of different ideas, a lot of different thoughts. Running for mayor, and I'll state it again, the mayor is the leader of the council. He's not the dictator of the council. It's not his way or the highway. At least it certainly hasn't been and will not continue to be that way if I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to have that position again in 2018. I'll state it once more. It's realistic. There's a lot of theories and ideas and idealism out there. The realism is we're a small, rural municipality. We have to live within our means, and I think we've done that very well over the last 12 years that I've had the privilege of being leader. I'll end it with the fact, is the way I ended it before. I do this because I care for my community, for the wealth, the health, and the vitality of West Grey. On October 22nd, or by October 22nd, starting October the 12th, I ask for your support to continue to lead this council and listen to the theories and ideas that we have and what realistically we can put in place to make West Grey the best place to live, work, and play. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Kevin Eccles. We'll move on to Tom Hutchinson.
And I will stand corrected. On the county roads, I meant municipal roads for the record, regardless. Ladies and gentlemen, I was asked a question earlier this week, and quite simply it is, why do you deserve to be our deputy mayor? Well, my answer is that I've trained my entire life in the business world for this new challenge. You deserve the best, and at this time, I am that person. I have extensive background in people management, budget setting, dealing with policies, procedures, as well as goal setting. I have a solid background in making corporate decisions and can help move West Grey forward. I do have connections at the county, provincial, and federal levels of government. I'm prepared to work countless hours for you and will deliver quality services in return for your hard-earned tax dollars. I am going to bridge the gap between the community and council. We're going to take this next chapter of our lives together. I want your input and suggestions. I will act on them and deliver the results you deserve. On October 22nd, vote for Tom Hutchinson as your new West Grey Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Hutchinson. Our next speaker, John Bell.
Thanks very much, Ted. Ladies and gentlemen, wrapping up, once again, thanks to the Optimist Club. Thanks to you for being involved, ladies and gentlemen, in municipal politics and wanting the best for everybody. I believe council should continue to work together to find economic opportunities and advantages, and that's a team effort. This is beneficial to both residents and council in the forms of jobs, revenue sources, and assessment growth for the municipality. I would like to continue to make good decisions on your behalf. When I first got into politics, I remember what my mother said. She said, you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and only 1 mouth, and you should use them in proportion to each other, and she is here tonight. And yeah, Mom, I'm still listening, and I believe listening is important. I do believe that a team effort is most important because I do want to make good decisions on your behalf, continually going forward in West Grey's best interest. I am John Bell, and look forward to your support on October the 22nd.
Thank you, John Bell. Our next speaker, Jeffrey Shea.
Thank you. I'll be brief. One of the things that I've noticed happened over the last little while is that we've had a number of community consultations. We had community consultations on the landfill closure, on Sunday hunting, on closing long-term care facilities. And in each of these cases, the community consultation came after the decision had been made. And I think it would make more sense to have the community consultation before the decision is made. I took a councillor training course when I was first elected to council in 2003, a day somewhere down country. And in that day-long course, one thing stuck with me the most, and that was that a good councillor has to be amenable to persuasion. I thought it was a fancy phrase, but it means, they mean you have to be open-minded. If somebody can come to me and they've got a better idea than the idea that I've got, I'm going to be really glad about that. I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to say, that's the better idea. Let's do that. So that's why I think community consultation has to happen and has to happen effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey Shea. Our next speaker, David Wild.
Everyone, as is evident, there are many concerns and many explanations, and somehow a void still exists. Problems will remain problems. Solutions will lead to more solutions. So let's put the emphasis on solutions. Please let me be one of your guides. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker, Callie Greenshields.
I'm committed to serving the communities of West Grey. Vote for me on October 12th through 22nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Callie Greenshields. Our next speaker, Stephen Townsend.
Thank you. We've heard a lot of information, a lot of questions, and a lot of commitments made at the front here. My only concern is that with so many ideas, so much commitment, and so many opportunities, and we also have all the expenses we already have, we need a process that will allow us to do two things. One is identify them, capture them, and consider them. The second one is to actually figure out how we're going to budget for them, what we're going to budget, and what we can afford. I agree with Miracles that we do have an issue around what you can spend, and we have to be realistic. We can't put ourselves in debt. And from what I've seen in the finances, we're doing a pretty good job. The other thing I'd like to emphasize is that when you look at all the ideas, you then need to structure them in a way, that's what I refer to as our strategic plan, and we'll take into account everything else. You need someone who has experience in doing that, experience in dealing with multiple locations, multiple activities across many, many venues. I've done everything that you can talk about at council, even being at council, not on the other side of the desk yet, but I certainly hope to be there. And I've had successes at council, I've had challenges at council, but I've always been able to do and work with them and represent the people when I go to council. And that's what you do when you get elected as well. So I even have experience in that. So again, the 12th to the 22nd of October, I hope to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen Townsend. Our next speaker, Jeff White.
Thank you. All right, I didn't prepare this one. My ExplorerNet let me down and I didn't get that part of it. Basically, I'm a guy, I don't say a whole lot until something needs to be said. If there's an issue and I want to stand behind it, I will. I want your vote, but here's something more important. Everybody needs to get out to vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for. If you want change, you have to get out and you have to do it or nothing's going to happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff White. Our next speaker, Scott Forrester.
All right, if elected, I plan to be upright and honest in all matters facing West Grey Council, open-minded to new and different viewpoints, committed to seeing things through, be a good listener, listening to all sides of an issue and work out a fair resolution. And most of all, I'm humble and I believe in putting the other residents of West Grey before myself.
Thank you, Scott Forrester. Our next speaker, Bob Weirmeyer.
I'd like to thank you all for coming out. This has been a great audience. The participation, the questions have been excellent. A lot of the questions that you asked, I had put that in my pamphlets too, if anybody has got them from the back of the room. They are all serious issues. They need to be addressed. And as has been brought up, we can't afford to do everything at once. But we have to look at everything. Everybody is important. I think we have to look at the whole municipality to make sure the roads in Normanby get the same as the roads in Bentic, the same as they get the sidewalks in Ayton. It's all got to be fair. I think we have to take representation from all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Weirmeyer. Our next speaker, Rebecca Hergert.
Well, I haven't been quiet tonight, and I won't be quiet when it comes time to represent you either. I really appreciate everyone's input. The last year and a half for me has been a massive learning curve, but really, overall, I've gotten to hear the residents' concerns and be able to speak up and make effective change for that. So, as my short little time on council so far, we've been able to add a comment period in at the beginning of a meeting. We also entertain questions at the end of a meeting. That doesn't always cover everybody's questions. And we are not staff. We don't have all the answers. We are there to bring forward your concerns and my concerns. I'm a resident. I pay tax. I want to make sure that my tax money is being well spent. And I am looking after your tax money too. So I also would like to make sure that we have budgets that are planned ahead properly, well in advance, so that we can look forward to grant money and partnerships. I think that's a real opportunity for us to not expand taxes, not increase taxes, but to look for money that is out there and available to us. I have all of my information on a contact card at the very back. Friday evening, 7 to 9 at the Garifraxa. If you would like to meet and greet and have any further questions, otherwise I would really appreciate your vote in October. All of these people, every one of us has pledged to do something, and I believe that my very first opportunity at leadership was in 4-H, and the pledge was, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service for my club, my community, my country, and my world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca Herbert. Our next speaker, Beth Hamilton.
Technical issues? Okay. There we go. You are here tonight because you care. You care for our community. I believe before we can tackle the big issues, we need to start right here, person to person, in our relationship with each other and with council, in building thriving partnerships between council, citizens, community groups, and volunteers. We can work together to build a plan for our future and take action today. You've heard many promises, and I only make you one. I will represent you to the best of my ability. Please come say hello after the meeting. Please call me, email, Facebook message me. I want to hear from you. I believe in our community. I believe we have the skills and talent to embrace the challenges ahead. Join me, Beth Hamilton, in building a better West Grey together. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth Hamilton. Next up, Doug Townsend.
Thank you. As I stated in my opening comments, the next council will have a lot of work to do, and you and I need to elect people with the right skill sets to represent you at the table. And I feel that I am one of those people that has the right skill sets. Ethics, understanding, problem solving, and out-of-the-box thinking are going to be key for the next group of councillors into West Grey. And I feel I have those traits. And if you'd like to know more about me, I do have a Facebook page at Doug Townsend for Council in West Grey. And again, like everybody else is saying, I'm looking for your support, October 12th to 22nd, and I live on a gravel road in Normanby. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug Townsend. Our next speaker, Jenny Parsons.
Optimist Club for organizing the debates tonight. You guys are awesome. It's so nice to have people who are ready and energetically putting this debate together for us to talk to you guys. Thanks. Thanks to Ted for hosting. You weren't too hard on us. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for showing up. I learned a lot from the questions and was writing down notes furiously. I actually, beyond this top 10 list, do have a full platform. I will be presenting my platform at the Garifaxa Cafe September 27th at 7 p.m. if you want to come out and hear my full platform. If you can't make it and you do have good internet, I have a live broadcast called West Grey Jenny every Saturday at 2 p.m. at www.jennyparsons.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny Parsons. Our next speaker, Doug Hutchinson.
Thank you. I think I've run a lot of races in my day, and I think it's the first time I ever started out first and end up last. Anyways, my family and I have lived in West Grey for almost 40 years now, and I've been on council for a term now, as I said, and what I try to do when I'm on council in our decision is make the best decisions I can for the people of West Grey. We have a 2020 action plan, and that's where we're coming from. And I think it's a good plan. Sure, it may need some tweaking. It only goes to 2020, and we need to look further down the road in terms of where we're going with West Grey. There are lots of issues: landfill, downtown refurbishing, upgrades to the roads and bridges, lots of things that have to be decided by this new council. Anyways, the people are moving to this area because of its beauty or because they're retiring. There are jobs here, and we need workers to fill them. That's another reason to settle in West Grey. Finally, I look forward, with your support, to having an opportunity to continue to promote West Grey as a place to work, play, and live. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the all candidates meeting. There is some literature at the back table there from some of the candidates of the front table here. I'm sure they'll be willing to take questions from you after. I just want to thank, again, like everybody else did, the Optimist Club and their tireless effort for putting on this fantastic presentation. And of course, we want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and showing your support. Thank you so much and have a safe trip home.
The preceding program was brought to you by Wightman TV and Bruce Telecom.